Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the After 9 show, our social media show. Mike and Lisa. No Lisa today. That is not Lisa you are seeing on your screen. That is the one and the only CTV news anchor, Jim Chricton, joining us today on After 9. Jim, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mike, and I have to protest the billing that you were giving me on the radio. I would never claim to be one of Canada's foremost journalists. I'm a guy who's done well in the local market, and I'm very content with that.
Well, I disagree. I think your career has spanned so many years, and people rely on you. You are part of their households every night at 6, and you were at 11 as well. I mean, it's amazing the influence and the just the name. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows you. Everybody welcomes you into their house every night at 6. Like, it's a tradition for people to have dinner with you.
Well, I would respectfully say that's not me. That's television. It's the nature of the medium. But I have enjoyed some success, and I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad you are joining us today because one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, I would have had you on anyway. I think it would have been fun. But that you're going to hang up that beautiful suit, sport coat, tie coming up a week from Friday. Your retirement is coming up.
Yeah, it's coming on like a freight train, as they say. I discussed this with my boss, Dan Kress, some time ago. To be candid, I had thought about retiring maybe about 18 months ago. My wife and I were going to go to a wedding in Ireland. And then COVID hit. There was no wedding. There was no Ireland. We couldn't even leave the country at that point. Then I decided I'd try and stay on until COVID-19 was wrestled to the ground. But quite clearly, that's not going to happen. It or something like it is going to be with us into the indefinite future. So I talked to my bosses, and they said, you pick your time. So this seemed to be a good time at the end of this year. I wanted to work as close to Christmas as I could, but be gone before the new year.
There you go. So, you're going to be able to go out on your own terms, which is a rare thing in the media business, especially these days, that you're able to decide, okay, this has been enough for me. I'm ready to go. How did you know that you were ready for retirement?
It is technological change. I mean, we're speaking on a fairly new instrument today. I'm not as comfortable with the new tools, if you will, as I'm a newspaper, radio, and television guy. That's what I grew up with. That's what I primarily turn to for information. I'm not much of a Facebook person. I have done a bit of tweeting, but TikTok, don't even know what it is. Not cryptocurrency, don't know what it is. But you know what? I know a little bit about old cars, so that's good with me.
Well, yes, you do know that. That's like one of your passions, right, is classic cars.
It is. Yeah, I'd like to have a whole garage full of them. I've got 2, and I'm grateful for that. But there's lots to do in retirement as I see it. I am retiring to retire, by the way. I'm not going to some other job. I've been asked this periodically. I've got the best job right now. Why would I leave it to try and go to some other job? If I was going to keep working, I'd keep doing this. So it's just that I'm a man of a certain age. It's time to go. It's time to do some other things with whatever time I have remaining.
Yeah, well, and you got a lot of time. You're still a young man, Jim. You got lots of time, and I can see that you are. It's not like you're disappearing. I think we're going to still see you around Windsor, Essex for some time.
Well, I appreciate that. Probably like at a car show or something like that. I don't know if there'll be as many hosting responsibilities. You and Lisa do a great job there. That is, as you know, Mike, that is something that really changed when COVID-19 hit. We went from, my wife and I, Pat, we went from being busy most Saturday nights of the year to being at home most Saturday nights of the year. And you know something? We kind of liked it. It was all right.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
Mind you, you won't have a bad meal in this town. We've enjoyed the hospitality. We've always enjoyed getting out to meet folks and have a nice meal. But we prefer the quieter things as well. So we've got a cat. You've got Lulu. We've got Loki the cat. And
oh, nice.
With our kitty cat.
That's great. Now, okay, over the years, I mean, you've been doing news, and you were a radio guy before you did TV news.
That's right. I started in Welland, Ontario in 1974. I just come out of Brock University in St. Catharines, and I'll be candid, I never formally trained for this business. I may have been the last generation that didn't go to a community college to pick up a skill set, that is now acquired. I apprenticed, truly. I learned from those who knew. Frank Cernak in Welland was my first news director. He had worked at CHML in Hamilton, which is also a great station like AM 800. And he brought some big city experience, which he laid on me. The most remarkable thing, Mike, and when thank yous are in order, it's hard to thank all the people that assist you along the way. You don't even appreciate fully that they're helping you, but they're giving you the skills to go on. And there's so many people I brush shoulders with that help me, and I never properly thank them. I'd like to do that now.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, you got to get breaks in any business, but especially in the TV, radio, media business, it helps to know people and people that believe in you, and, you know, you got to get your breaks. Now, when did you know, though, you wanted to be on radio when you were first starting out? Because, like, it just seems like it's a natural fit for you. Like, you're just so comfortable reading the news script or being in front of the camera on TV. It just seems like that is a fit for who you are.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Mike. Television certainly came later. Television for me began with this job when I moved to Windsor shortly after 2000. I'd come up from the Maritimes to take the job, though I am from Ontario originally, and I worked in stations in Welland, Niagara Falls, Peterborough, Kitchener. Then I was out in Halifax for a bunch of years, and then back to Ontario. I was in London, and then in Windsor. But I do want to say I never set out to do this. I approached this as somebody using the language. Again, I was an English major at university. I went to university to get an English degree. I got involved with the campus radio station, and that is really how it started. But it was an attempt to find an extracurricular activity. I am not one of those guys that wanted to be on the radio or, hey, I want to be on television. That happened, but it's not something I set out to do.
Well, you're getting plenty. I don't know if you can see the comments at the bottom of the screen that we're flashing on there. So many well wishes and wishing you well in retirement. If anybody has questions for Jim about about his career or anything they ever wanted to ask you, you can put them up in the comments. Cora has one question to Jim. What's your favorite classic car? Oh my God, can there only be one?
Oh, that's hard to say. I love my '66 Chrysler, and again, that was an example of a car that I didn't set out looking for specifically, but it's me. And incidentally, that's an observation I made in life. Sometimes you can try and make things happen, or you can let things happen. And guided by desire and interest, often good things will happen if you just let them happen. So I found my old Chrysler. If I was to have any car, I guess I'm still in love with the James Bond car, the Sean Connery Aston Martin DB5, but there's not a chance at all I'll have one of those, but it's always been a marvelous car. So if I was to talk about a dream car, it would be the Aston Martin. But I confine myself to more practical, realistic cars. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, you got yours, and it is a beautiful car, that is for sure. One of the things as you come to the end of your broadcasting career is the fact that you've covered so many stories over the years. So, one obvious question I want to ask you, like, what are the ones that stand out to you that you've been involved with, that you've covered since you've been in this business?
It's an awful thing to say, but the tragedies do stand out. The murder of Senior Constable John Atkinson in this market will always resonate. When I was in Nova Scotia, I covered two disasters. I covered the Westray coal mine disaster, which close to 30 miners became trapped underground and nobody came out alive. That was in the early 90s. And then later in the 1990s, the crash of Swiss Air Flight 111 off Peggy's Cove. I was working for Canadian Press, the broadcast news division at that time, and that was a very tragic story as well. These are the stories, incidentally, that grab the headlines and also sometimes promote your career, though you don't intend that to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dan Rather being in Dallas, Texas, the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, that propelled him to national attention. But
he's still going too, Dan Rather, still on TV and very popular on social media, even for a guy who's like in his 90s now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would say it was I believe it was 1998, the crash of Swiss Air Flight 111. But that was a story that I remember taking calls from Hawaii, and I thought, when is the last time a broadcaster from Hawaii has called and put me on
Hmm.
the air? There was certainly a global interest in that story. And again, in all honesty, that is probably the story that got me noticed, leading to my television career here. Because people in the business, as you know, Mike, are looking for up and comers, are looking for people that are keen. And again, I was part of a team. It's not me. I was part of a broadcast news team. And I do want to emphasize that too. It's the team behind you. I may be the guy that is lucky enough to get the FaceTime, if you will, but if I had no news to report, if there was no team behind me, there'd be no broadcast. And I say that with
Yeah,
all
you're
humility.
you're kind of the face of it. You're up front, but yeah, to prepare all that and to get the clips and the news and all that stuff, there's a lot behind it. A lot of people are asking, who's going to be taking your spot at 6:00? Do we know yet?
That has yet to be announced, but I don't think that we'll have to wait much more than a week to find out. I believe that announcement is coming, and it will be told to the viewers and listeners prior to my departure. So I hope there will be an opportunity to introduce that person to viewers and listeners.
Okay. I will say Russell wants to know, is it me? No, it is not me. I cannot wear a suit and tie every day like Jim wears it, so I will be staying on the radio for as long as they'll let me. So.
Well, you'll get a kick out of this. I've never been a DJ, if you will, or an announcer. I've always been a news person. Honestly, even at university, I was in that role. I think I spun records for about half of one afternoon at Great Rock, and there's something else I want to do. And that's what. And they gave me a typewriter, and I started rewriting the St. Catharines Standard newspaper. So I've been a news guy ever since then. But I normally work in a shirt and tie because I find that I do my best work. I feel I'm dressed for business, and then the words start to flow.
Very nice. Yeah, like I said, it's just like a natural fit. And do you remember your days? Like, how long were you out east? Because you were at a station, I think it was called CHNS.
That's right. I was there for 20 years. I beg your pardon, 17 years. I was in the Maritimes for 20 years. But that was an adventure. I left Kitchener was working in Kitchener in the late 70s. I'm going way back here. I was younger. I was eager to see the country. Interestingly, a lot of people went west. I went east. I don't regret it. There's nothing to be gained from that. My daughter was born in Halifax, and I'm grateful for that. But I kind of would like to get to know the other side of the country as well. In another life, I might have gone to Alberta or something. I think that would have suited me fine.
Nice. Well, someone sent me this photo a little while ago, Jim. You might remember this one. There you are back in the 1980s when you were working at CHNS.
Wow.
There's Jimmy right there.
The people in that photograph are Cindy Greer, our promotions manager, Marty Kingston, sportscaster extraordinaire. Marty was one of these guys that he could hold forth on any topic and bring something to the discussion. A very clever guy. That's me with the mustache. And incidentally, I had that mustache until I took this TV job. I had a full beard in university. Then I went to the mustache, and the powers that be said we prefer you ditch the mustache. Gentlemen, great broadcaster, Jerry Lawrence. Jerry has an interesting story. He was confined to a wheelchair, but he had polio as a child and never walked again. But that didn't stop him. As a matter of fact, it empowered him. He became a great radio announcer because he could be behind the board with no problem. He could do his public appearances. And later, he was a member of the Nova Scotia legislature, and he was a champion for mobility issues for people that had difficulties with curbs and stairs and things like that. So Jerry Lawrence, I believe he's in his early 80s now. We called him Jer Bear, a great broadcaster. He's friends, by the way, with Canada's Man in Motion, Rick Hansen, who I know you know because we all got to meet Rick, Mike and Lisa, and myself.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thanks for doing this for us. I think the listeners or the viewers here on our After 9 show got a kick out of it, seeing you on here, filling in for Lisa. Lisa will be back next week. We'll have one more special guest tomorrow with us, and we'll see you tonight at 6, and we'll enjoy your broadcast for the next week. Well, I guess 8 nights left.
Mike, thanks so much for the listeners and callers who've written in. I'm sorry I couldn't get to everything, but I deeply appreciate the chance to talk to your audience. And you're a great radio man, and radio is my first love.
Yeah, it's a great business, and we appreciate everybody watching and listening to us, and we appreciate Jim being here. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow on After 9 and tomorrow morning, 5 to 9 on AM 800.